Creative new exhibit is on display at the Wichita-Sedgwick County Historical Museum. It's called Thrift Style. The exhibit explores the reuse of feed sacks to make clothes and other household items and how it benefited 20th century consumers and businesses. Now, over 40 works are on display right now, including patterns and garments, showing off the ingenuity of the past. Lead educator at the museum, Samantha Carter, says what's known as upcycling became really popular from the 1920s through the 1940s because of the scarcity of certain commodities.
You know, you couldn't buy as many objects anymore, and things were really regulated as to how much fabric could be on clothing and things like that. But what wasn't regulated were the feed sacks, the commodity bags, because those were seen as necessities. So people would often upcycle them to create things that, they needed day-to-day lives for.
Some interesting stuff there. The exhibit is sponsored by Goodwill Industries of Kansas and will be on display until October 5th.